good evening, and welcome. Têkkel Talk Show live, and we are back on a Thursday. Good evening, Alberic. It's always good to have you.
Hey, how's it? Ja, lekker. Ja, bit of a tech issue vanaand, guys. Voor ons begin het, but we here, ons is hierso en ons gaan 'n bietjie lekker gesels vanaand. So guys, please tune in. Let us know your thoughts. We've got some big topics to chat about, and yeah, it's exciting. It's Têkkel Thursday, nie? Kan nie houer klaar nie.
Yeah, no problem, no problem. We did struggle before the show with some sound, but it seems to me we've sorted it out. So good evening to everyone, and it's a big weekend for the Springboks. It's the big one. We've all anticipated this one, and it's going to be a cracker of a show because there's quite a few things to talk about. But yeah, Beric, this is the one that we thought that probably going to determine the pool. And on Saturday we will play the Irish. So we are all very excited, and we have some hot topics and some expert opinions that will obviously come through on the show. But this is the big one for the box.
Yeah.
Big one.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, yeah, no, it's massive. Yeah, I think everybody's been waiting for. In fact, the rest of the world has been talking about billing as this is the game of the Rugby World Cup so far. En is snaaks, nee, ek bedoel as jy nou terugkyk na die vorige World Cup en even 'n paar World Cups terug as, 'n game tussen die twee spanne sou nie noodwendig die highlight van die group stages gewees het nie, maar omdat die twee spanne number 1 en 2 in die wêreld is dit natuurlik billed as the big one. So yeah, lots to talk about, and I think also just with regards to Rassie selection, and that's also one of the big things that got the Irish hot under the collar over the last few days, last day at least.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then also we know that our Têkkel Subaru pool, we started early in the week with the game week. So I hope everybody got their picks in and that they are ready to move up or down the leaderboard. So we will see later on who moved up and where the yellow cap lies. But that's obviously for much later on. But so if there's anybody online, give us a greeting, and we will speak about the Springboks in Alberic.
Yeah.
Like you said, we knew that this is going to be the big one, and not necessarily because we are in a pool with the Scottish, the Irish, and South Africa being the top three teams. But I also believe that going into the World Cup, everybody said France, New Zealand, but there were two teams, obviously, not because we are biased, but I think the Irish and the Boks were amongst those in discussion, and we knew that it might come down to this game on Saturday to determine who finished first and second. And it seems to be, given the fact that we now know, and it's an open secret that the French beat the New Zealand team, the winner of this match, most probably, unless something goes seriously wrong forward, will face the All Blacks in the quarterfinal.
Massive.
With the loser of this game. Remember, the Irish must still play Scotland, but we're making those assumptions based on the point difference that the Boks got against Romania, that the loser of Saturday's game between Ireland and South Africa will play a determined and informed France side in France in the quarterfinal. It can be a situation, if you beat France, you might go all the way. But to face France now might be an uphill battle for any team in this World Cup.
Yeah, how do you en ek het ons gepraat oor die ek het often gepraat oor die 7-1 split. En wat se kanse Jacques en Rassie mee gaan in terme van die span. And yes, there might be one position, for example, Dwayne Vermeulen, you would probably think you would probably start in a game like this. And you would feel, just is Rassie maybe throwing his dice? Are they really? For me, it felt almost, it's either or. At the moment, whether you face the All Blacks in the quarters or you face, the French, it's two tough teams nonetheless. However, if we do win this game, you'll face the devil, in the All Blacks. And I think we'll go into a game like that with some confidence, I think, especially after what was done at Twickenham. So that definitely is one of the real kind of scenarios that would likely happen. But take nothing away from Scotland. I mean, if whoever loses, if the Boks in this case lose this game, their destiny won't be in their own hands. It would be a case of, as a oude bonus point gekry het hier en daar en het soveel punte teen Romania gescored, then it's going to come into play. I mean, Ireland played fantastic against Tonga. So in the likely scenario that Scotland do win Ireland, then the three teams are on level points, which can be disastrous. You don't want to be kicked out of a World Cup because of that. But I need just, even before we get into this weekend's game, last week there was one major upset, and one thing that stood out above all was the second last result from bottom, which was the Australia-Fiji game. Now, before we get to the Boks, continue the Boks conversation, surely Eddie must be, sitting on the edge of his seat thinking, yes, he gaan hy nou die trekpas kry of nie. Is it the case of Eddie being overrated?
It's a good question. I don't think Eddie is an overrated coach. I think he's a decent coach, but I think he needs to wear this one. You don't go to a World Cup with if you drop Quade Cooper and Hooper, then at least you must be able to put something on paper that makes sense. And I looked at that Australian team that took to the field to Fiji, and I thought to myself, remember, there is an outside chance that both Australia and Wales, even with this loss now, Australia will be sweating, but there's an outside chance that Australia, Wales, and Fiji, two of them will make the quarterfinals. But if you look at the Australian setup, I don't think that I think the quarterfinal might just be their pinnacle. Even if they've won this game, I don't believe that this team would have gone further than the quarterfinal. The rationale behind leaving those experienced players behind, only Eddie would know. But Eddie's in a very rough ride with his media in Australia.
Oh, yes.
He's becoming the laughing stock now in Australia. And this loss against Fiji just gave them more fuel for the fire.
No, 100%. And if we just run through those results quickly, France, Uruguay, very unconvincing win. Nonetheless, it was touch and go, I think, up until the 60th minute. Uruguay, very close to France, even though it wasn't the French's strongest team. New Zealand putting 71 points on our neighbors, Namibia. And we think, it's obviously Namibia, they would have, I think the fact that they put on, there were 71 points put against them. If you look at the previous World Cups, they didn't have a great record. So nonetheless, that is a team that would grow definitely from a result like that. Samoa putting 43-10 over Chile. Wales, not convincing, 28 over Portugal. Ireland, very good win over Tonga, 59-16. Obviously the Boks, fantastic win over Romania. Not much can be said, not much can be seen in the result because of Romania's, obviously the standard rugby not as and in all due respect, not in the top tier of course, and then obviously Australia, Fiji, and then England and Japan. So obviously there's some there's a lot of rugby that still has to be played, and we look forward to all that. We've got a question from Gilmer. Dink jy omdat dit nog group games is dat altyd spanne nou al aangewys het? Wil jy France in die quarterfinals speel of miskien die finals? Goeie vraag.
I don't think any of these two teams want to lose this game on Saturday. You look at it's a very good question, and I was never going to ask this question on my show.
Yeah, but Gilmer, jy nou baie nie. Hy hakkel over die laaste 30 secondes. Jy het nou vraag vir hom nou vasgevra met daai. But it's a good question. If you look at the selection of Rassie and Nina, I really don't know, man. I can't answer that, and I think we'll speak to Jonathan McQueen later on, and he'll give some insight into that 7-1 split. I'm really confused with the selection of the Springbok side. I am absolutely confused, and bringing Pollard over and not selecting him for this game makes me more confused.
So Gilmer is asking. This is a very good question, guys. This is a very good question, and I'm looking at this question. I'm thinking, let me not entertain this now. I want some debate on this one. Is the Springbok serious? Are they seriously making 7 forward subs on Saturday? Let's have a chat about it, Alberic. They have selected the team. They have an appetite to replace 7 Springbok forwards in a game against Ireland. They are left with one backline player. Guess what? It's not Grant Williams. It's not Grant Williams. The backline player they selected is Corbett Wright. So this question, really, it's a very good question, and I want some debate on this one.
Yeah, please, guys, let us know. I mean, we might not have the answer for that, but please let us know your thoughts. I mean, one thing we do know, it is a good evening, Patricia. Thank you for that. Thanks for joining in and always saying how I there at least. We appreciate it. Again, that 7-1 split is a big talking about. There's been talks out of Ireland, and you've been, you're listening to social media and you hear what they're saying on that side and what South Africans are saying. There's a big talk about, especially last 24 hours, one of the pundits in Ireland saying that they run the risk of injury, which is a real risk, in any contact sport, nonetheless, right? His argument being that you can, you're going there with a team to injure, and which is I think not necessarily the case. You're going to win a game strategically. So that is a real concern. Player welfare is a concern. However, when you are playing a contact sport, there will always be that risk that comes with it. No matter what it is. Even if it's NFL in the US, you're gonna be facing big guys. I mean, NFL players, you have how many guys on the field, and let them, when the defense comes up, a whole new team comes up. So you're going to be facing plenty of risk. It's about minimizing what World Rugby is trying to do, with lowering tackle heights, etc. It's about minimizing that. And I say, but not necessarily. They're taking a massive risk here, guys. They're taking a massive risk by not having a play on.
Yeah. Let's have a look at that team. Let's just have a look at that team.
Yeah.
Let's give the viewers some insight. There's a team. So we've gone, and I think last week, if we take our memory back, last week we went without Kwagga Smith, and Kwagga at now 22 might give them some, let's say, peace of mind. But the substitutions: Dion Fourie, Oxen Trebenekani, Jean Klein, Argie Snyman, Marco van Staden, and Kwagga Smith. There is your 7 forward substitutions that might take you the field. Now, if you look at the team, Kopus Reinach, the only backline player. If we do not get injuries to any backline player in this fixture, we should win this game. We should win this game. But the question would be, is it the right time to throw the dice and risk it all? And then my question would be, if you look at Steven Kitsoff, Bongium Benambe, Frans Malherbe, Eben Etzebeth, Franco Moster, Siakalisi, Pieter Steptoe, and Jasper Wiese, do we have the need to substitute 7 of those players for 80 minutes in this fixture? Certainly, the answer was yes for Jacques Nienaber, Dion Davids, and it sticks with the advice of Rassie Erasmus. It's a big call, and it's going to be there's some debate.
There's absolutely no way that they cannot be risking this. Any backline player getting injured, you would risk that a possible forward. As you got Richard Erasmus coming in saying Kwagga can not help in the backline. Great point. I mean that would definitely be, I think, a consideration. I remember when it was, I think it was about a year or 2 years ago when Rassie was bringing up the 6-2 split. I think in the first game, I think it was against the All Blacks, I'm not mistaken. I think Faf went down. Faf went down in the first minute and got knocked out. I think it was the All Blacks. And it was a stress because what would they be doing in the second half if another player gets injured? Yeah, you run the risk of one player gets off, then it's gone. So, yes, even though you could shift, Kwagga around, that presents a weak link in that back line, whether it's on the wing or wherever you're going to be putting Kwagga. Unless, again, they got systems in place that can move those players around quickly enough to combat a situation like that. So there's massive risk in it. Again, from the box side, I think, I don't think there's any team that can boast the quality of forwards we have. If we had to play, two teams, we could have two teams that could easily walk into any international team. I mean, if you look at the names, and we're not mentioning Malcolm Marx here. That's injured. We're not mentioning Dwayne Vermeulen, that also has a slight injury, as I understand. So you mentioned there's some big names that would just bolster this team incredibly. And then just to look at Kobus Reinach, him alone. It's big questions. And I agree with you. Grant Williams would have brought that pace on a wing if he had to move into that position. But it's such a risky thing. I mean, prefer I would have gone 6-2. I mean, but again, I'm not the Bok coach. So I get to say anything. But I think laat weet vir ons, because it's a big debate. I think we're at this point where we all say, you know what, if Rassie and Jacques, as hulle dit so sê, dan glo ons hulle. So let's see where this goes. It worked against the All Blacks. Maar anyone, met dit gesê, dink jy nie dat hy just before the game started against the All Blacks, Willie was taken off in the last game with the injury. Do you think that was a ploy to test this? I mean, it's a hand gewys in die game al?
No way. I don't think so. I think if Malcolm Marx was still fit, and if Malcolm Marx was still in France, we would have never chanced his arm. I believe it has something to do with testing Dion Fourie or Marco van Staden. They have now decided to not bring over Hooker. It has. If Malcolm Marx was fit, there's no way we would have seen a 7-1 split. And even in an ideal world, if you play 7-1, the two players that I would have had on the one, the only two players that I would have thought would come in the one as a backline player would have been either Damian Willemse or Grant Williams. I would have never thought they would have gone 7-1 with Kobus Reinach, because now you're exposing Damian Willemse as your joker. Damian is your guy that needs to stay fit. If Jesse gets injured, Damian goes in there. If Mani gets injured, Damian goes in there. So Damian being on the field with not a Grant Williams on the bench who can come up at wing or scrum half, a big risk. But we spoke to a professional coach about it. We dialed up Jonna in the traffic this morning. We asked him, Jonna, this is puzzling. We want you to come onto the show. But he said, obviously, he's got other responsibilities during the show. But he popped us a message, and this is what he had to say about the 7-1 split. This is Jonathan Mokoena.
Môre julle, hoop gaan goed. So my gedagtes rondom die Springbok 7-1 split. Ek moet sê, ek was baie verras. Ek het aanvanklik gedink die 7-1 split was per blote toeval, met die besering van Willie Leroux natuurlik met die All Blacks. En maar ja, lyk my dit was toe nou nie per toeval nie. Ek is bietjie bekommerd oor die 7-1 split. En ook omdat hulle gegaan het met Kobus Reinach op die bank en nie met Grant nie. Want ek dink Grant bied vir nogal eintlik bietjie meer aan as jy sou jy die besering opdoen. Byvoorbeeld hy kan vir jou vleuel 9 ek dink buite senter ook te kan dek. En dan natuurlijk as 'n ou besering sou opdoen op in die senterposisie. So bietjie van 'n kommer vir my, maar ek dink as dit werk soos dit goed gewerk het, dan is dit bitter moeilik om het van stapel te stuur, want jy moet basies as jy teen die Springbokke speel, moet jy twee ewe sterk spanne het wat die job kan doen. En soos ons weet, nie baie spanne het daai voordeel om daai tipe plaatsvervangers te kan doen nie. So ja, dis my gevoel oor die 7 split. Maar soos ek sê, Ik is een beetje bekommerd, maar als het werkt, dan kan het baie goed werken. Ik luister verder op die radio hier voor jullie. Lekker aan verder. Bye.
Dankie, Jonah. Yeah,
Echoes
now
what
to
we are saying, Annie.
now to
It
answer
echoes
Gilmer's
what we are
question.
saying. Yeah.
Now to answer Gilmer's question. Gilmer asked the question: do we believe that either of these teams are not wanting to show their arm? I'm gonna put my head on the block here and say that the Springboks realize that this is the game that they need to win if they want to go all the way. And Rassie and Ninaber has not held back to roll the dice on this one. If we remain injury-free in the backs, which means they can play 70 minutes with the starting players, or even 65 minutes, and only having to take off Faf to replace Reinach, we should win this game. Seven forwards, substitution, running on fresh, and the forwards we've mentioned, with the likes of Ergie Snyman, they should be able to close out this game against the Irish. The only concern, and that is where Jonah is spot on, en dit is waar ek en Jonah seker op dieselfde bladsy is. Ek hoop ek word as hulpafrigter aangestel as Jonah eendag bok afrigter. Die risiko is te groot. Die skaal moet in ewewig wees, maar nou gaan mense sê you need to risk high to win high. It's a massive risk, but I think it's one worth taking. The only thing that I believe that probably influenced this decision is the absence of a specialized hooker in the Springbok side. And hence, I believe they decided around the table, let's chance our arm, let's get Dion and Marco in that side. So if something, we have got two hookers as backup, which makes up the 7, and Kobus, obviously, the obvious selection to fill in that position because he is the second choice number 9.
And let's take nothing away from Dion Fourie. I mean, Dion Fourie is, in the URC, he was phenomenal. I mean, he had a fantastic, I think, 2 years, just being the age, coming back from Europe, playing in South Africa, back in South Africa, phenomenal. So take nothing away from him. And maybe, again, there's so much pluses, we can call that. If you look at the pros and the cons of the situation, there's one major con here is the fact that if a backline player gets injured, there's a groot ding. Maar if you add up and I think that's where they got to, if you add up all the pluses on this, all the pros, you're looking at the fact that you would have, again, a specialized hooker, etc. on. You would have the fact that you would have a Dion Fourie that could potentially, stack up in the breakdown against Josh van der Vleeu when it comes to battling for a ball. So those are big. I think that the pros outweigh the cons, like in any risk situation that you would probably want to take on. However, the Boks are going with a very kind of, let's call it a safe route because we know our rugby. Gilmer came back with this though. Ek predict as die Bokke die ere wen, dan gaan France die game teen Italy gooi. Hey, you never know. Look, and again, it's open
what
to
he's
the
gonna say. He's saying that France would want to avoid.
Yeah.
The France would want to avoid playing Ireland. They would prefer playing the Springboks. That's what I read. So I predict as die Bokke die ere wen, dan gaan France die game teen Italy gooi. Wat gaat seker maak dat Frankryk moontlik tweede eindig en die eerste nie because hulle wil die Bokke hê. Kom ek sê vir jou wat guys, ek dink enige span nou wil die Springbokke facey. Ja, ons gaan 'n bietjie later praat en hoe verkeerd ek was in terme van Dweba wat definitief gaan ook kom. maar wil jy die Springbokke nou, meneer, jy praat van 'n Springbok span wat 'n do or die test match in 'n Rugby World Cup sê hierdie afrigterspan, kom ons speel 'n 7-1 split teen die nommer 1 span in die wêreld. This is what we are saying, and I believe that the Springbok side, they are in a good space. They should not panic. 100%. They should not panic. I think they are in a good space. They are testing fate, and I don't think, Gilmer, I don't believe. If you ask the French now, in an ideal world, you want to play in the quarterfinals, but you want to face the Irish and the Springboks, I think it will be a unanimous decision that they would want to play the Irish. They are familiar with playing in the Six Nations. They do not want to face a 7-1 split or a 6-2 split where the Springboks will obviously come with all they have
Yeah.
to beat the French in France. It's a
100%.
big call.
No, 100%. I agree with you. And I think we all knew going into this World Cup, these two groups it's going to be tough. If you want to win the World Cup, jy sal jou ding moet wys teen ten minste 2 spanne. And it's going to be a big one. How's it to Heinrich Adonis? Zille, hoe gaan dit? Hoop het gaan goed jou kant, broer. All the way from New Zealand, Melly. How's it, man?
Ja,
Lekker.
ja.
Good to see you, man.
Support jy nou die All Blacks of support jy nou die
Nee.
Springbokke?
Ja, laat weet vir ons, Melly, asseblief stuur vir ons jou kyk, jy moet vir ons 'n pick stuur met 'n Bok jersey, né? Hy nie. Hy moet vir 'n pick stuur met 'n Bok jersey. But guys, with that said, let us send us videos of your, weekend's game, your get together you had with family or friends or wherever you're at. We'd love to show it on the show. I think we did it in the previous rugby championship tournament, and it's always lekker to see what you guys are up to on a weekend when the Boks play. Every boer was say lekker boys, dankie vir 'n lekker show. Dankie, thanks for joining in, man. And you mentioned the Boks being in a good space, and it's so pivotal that there's just this almost calmness about him that I feel that is not too much hurrah about it. There's not too much things happening that you would wonder, any kind of controversies or and I mean people have been saying Rassie deflects that of it nou ligte is by 'n game of it nou 7-1 split is, he deflects that a lot to him, which I think is fantastic because it takes away, gives the Boks look in a good space. They look in a very good space. They look comfortable knowing who they are, where they are at in their, in this part of the tournament. And there's this quiet kind of subtle strength that you almost get from them putting out the team a day before when they're supposed to, and they put it up. They say like, this is who we are. 7-1. So we're gonna come out of this. So you already know, but at the same time, looking at the 7-1 split, but you have a guy like Mane playing, and you think, but the Boks have a lot more to offer from where they were 2 years ago, 3 years ago, where it was a kick up and under chase, etc., etc. So the Boks can really change their game better than what they could have done a few years ago. That definitely puts us in a better space, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. I think they also shook up the media world. And last week, I believe I said I would be very surprised if they would bring across Andre Pollard. There was a rumor, and I said that I was going to be very surprised if it's not going to be Joseph Dweba picking up the phone and saying, I'm on my way to France. However, they threw in another curveball, replacing a specialized hooker with a flyer. Again, very confident, making sure that they bring across a message that we know what we want and what we require. However, I want to put out a question, and perhaps this is the one that it's a statement I want to make asking a question. Was Andre Pollard...
Voor die Albert Gilma, you listening? Is a vraag voor jou nou.
Anybody else? Gilma is a big rugby fan. Andre Pollard was omitted from the 33-man squad. There were reasons for that. I don't know the reasons, but my suspicion was at that time Andre was not match fit, or he wasn't ready, or that the Springboks coaching staff felt that he might join the squad at a later stage in the Rugby World Cup. Hence, Andre Pollard does not make the 33-man squad. Big call. We were all very shocked that they only selected one flight. 3 games into the Rugby World Cup, our specialized number 2, perhaps one of our better players in Malcolm Marx, gets injured, and all of a sudden, we call Andre Pollard to replace Malcolm Marx. My question then would be, what has changed between the announcement of the Springbok side and the fact that Andre is now ready to come in place of a hooker, a specialized hooker, who should either play ahead of Bongi or who should come off the bench in Bongi's place in knockout games. It's a very, very big statement to make, and perhaps someone could give some clarity on that, because it's a massive call, and I believe that there's one standout factor that has influenced this decision, and that is the fact that Manie Lebok is not kicking well off the tee. And if that is the situation, I want to ask the Springbok selectors if they did not watch Manie Lebok prior to the World Cup. He was not striking at 100%, nor was he striking at 85%. Hence, why are they agreeing now that they made a selection error by not selecting Pollard, or are they trying to fix a problem by bringing him across and losing a void in our pack of forwards?
For sure. I mean, there's this mixed messages that goes out, and lees ons te veel, lees ons te min, we don't know. Was it one or one? Wat sê medium morsman man is 'n conference want hulle plant saaitjies wat nie bestaan nie. Ongeag sy skopwerk is steeds by verre ons beste fly-off. Make no doubt, Manie is exceptional. There is, I mean, we said it many times, Manie is, out and out the best fly-off in South Africa, for South Africa. I think I've said it a couple of weeks ago, even when Pollard came back from injury and he was playing a good game for Leicester, Manie was still by far just the play it was, and Manie was still kicking over his, I think it was on a 70% or close to 80% kick ratio. Wasn't the greatest, but again, it's good enough for for the URC and for the level that he was playing at. But yes, what was the message? Do you think it's perhaps maybe a case of Pollard coming over, lending a hand? Is this a change of guard that maybe Manie is out, and we know Rassie to have put out the rest before, putting out, picking a play and giving that player the confidence, and we have to, take a hats off to him. He's done it with guys like Pimpy, with a Sia, and said, listen, you are my person and I back you. Is this, possibly Rassie's way of saying, Manie, I back you. I am going to bring in a Pollard that can just bring that, off the bench. Not necessarily water boy activities, but just to give that bit of edge and also make the teams wonder. I think Rassie plays a lot of these mind games off the field where the fact that we're having a discussion about this is because of what he does. So is the case of him to bring it on? I definitely see Pollard, he has to play against in the Tonga game. If he's going to play any part in this tournament, he'd have to play and start in the Tonga game, because then we can see where he's at. We can definitely see where he's at. That's my to answer your question. That could be it, but yeah, I mean, one again responded. Whoever should have been called up, Pollard isn't even match fit. He isn't. Clearly. I mean, I think he played against for Leicester Tigers the weekend. Didn't play that game off the bench. It wasn't that great. But yeah, point made as well.
I think you're very to the point that you are making is very valid. But it's if you take the risk, leave Dweba and bring across Pollard, surely everybody would have thought Pollard is playing against Ireland, or he would come off the bench against Ireland. Now you play Ireland, you play a 7-1. Pollard is nowhere. You don't even have a kicker. Or it's mind games. It's fine, but to what extent? To what extent? I believe there must be logic in the madness, and perhaps we don't know the logic. We will see it going further on. But I'm telling you, Rassie has got everybody talking, and even us here, Van saying, Dweba is coming. I asked Jonathan, speak about Pollard. He said, hy's 'n warm bal om te vang. Ek is self onseker om te sê presies wat daar aangaan in terme van die logika agter dit. Maar definitief, soos jy sê, we would want to see a Henry Pollard take to the field against Tonga. Let's hope he remains injury free, because remember, the pressure would be now on Bongi Mbonambe to play the majority of the games, to remain injury free,
Yeah.
We know it's a contact sport. Anything can happen, but a lot of pressure on him now because we now know that Bongi Mbanambe might play. If we go all the way, he's going to have to
Yeah.
play 3 massive games in 3 weekends: quarterfinal, semi-final, and final. If we do go all the way, that is taking out the equation that he is starting on Saturday against Ireland. Only backup, according to me, Dion Fourie, and we've heard last week that Marco van Staden is besig om 'n paar balle in die lyn staan te oefen.
Ja.
So ons
Ja.
nou dag gesien hy het 'n bietjie ingegooi daar, so ja.
Yeah, and I must give it to Zillow. I mean, he was the one that said last week that there was talks that you know that Van Staden has been throwing ball into a lineup. But with that said, I mean, we just come saying as well, Rassie en Jacques coached in Ireland 2016-2017, bietjie insight info oor hulle benadering vir rugby advantage bokke. The fact that he chose John Klein and R.G. Snyman, Munster pairing, probably one of the best lock pairings in URC. Played in Ireland, they know the conditions, they know the players they are up against, and surely John Klein has a point to prove. Rassie knew this, that John Klein will be playing this game. He knew that come 23rd September, John Klein will be playing that game. Again, he's tactical, and you must give it to him. I mean, we might not see all that where we understand right now, but I think at the end of the tournament, whether we end up in the semis, quarters, or final, perhaps we'll probably be able to see. Okay, this is why he did X, Y, and Z. Going into that final. For now, we're seeing it as all over the place. One thing is for sure, die bokke is in 'n goeie plek. Hulle weet wat hulle wil doen. Daai benadering wat hulle wil na hulle spel toe, hulle weet wat hulle goed is. And that gives us comfort as supporters to say, you know what, we actually happy. We in a much better place. Look at where the All Blacks are at right now. I've never seen the New Zealand pundits really feeling like they're feeling uneasy. They're feeling uneasy about the team. There's a lot of finger pointing towards either the coach or even the referees. I mean, the game against the Boks on Twickenham, it was a lot about what the referee did wrong instead of what the team did wrong. And I think they were really shell-shocked in that way. We can't take for granted. This Ireland, they've been on top of the last maybe 3 years or 2 years since the 2019 World Cup, and we can't take it for granted. It's going to be a massive, massive, massive game. Is there any score predictions coming up, guys? Please let us know. By the way, if you guys checked out last week's episode, Heini, my friend, Heini puts out bluffs. I figured out already. Ek weet nie of vir my is hy of vir almal. Nee, wag gou. Ek weet nie of vir my is of vir almal is hy. Jy het 'n blak uitgesit. Nee, bokke maklik 100 en op 'n stadium het ek gedink toe hier 20 iets is na 10 minute dink ek is hy nie. En when I checked jou en nou terwyl ek die game kyk, gaan ek op Superbro. Maar ek sien wragtig maar hy nie regtig. He stuck by it. He back the box to win with 114 points. That's of hy nie. En dan het hy gekom maar that's of you stuck by your word.
No, it was never a bluff. I believe that the Springboks were going to beat the Romanian side with more than 100 points. And it wasn't a bluff. Yes, I wanted to confuse you a bit, but I went on to make that pick as well. I think my margin was meer as 100. I think 110 of 114 punte. And I think when the dam wall just went, if it was drier, it wasn't that wet, perhaps we would have seen more spectacular performance. But it was tough conditions, and here and there, you weet, Kane Moody, so verzyder wegcheck. Hey, pas daar vir die 100 dan. Maar it wasn't the
114. 114.
Yeah. So
but anyway, with that said, I mean, I need coming back. There's two things. Pollard was always going to be part of the mix. This planning has started on the flight home from Tokyo 4 years ago already. Lastly, Rassie has now exposed I need to be a conservative pundit. Brilliant. Kyk, hy kan nie conservative wees, wag hy nie. Hy kan nie conservative wees nie. Dis nou hy praat nou hy nie gedounes nou. Hy kan nie conservative wees as hy 114 punted for the bok. Nah, that's ballsy. I mean, well done.
Guys, I'll tell you what. Rassie Erasmus, along with Jacques Nienaber and Guy, they have shown now that we are not afraid to take the risk. The obvious things are not obvious to them. They are bamboozling all of the rugby world. And yes, I asked the question. Remember. Imagine they beat Ireland with a 7-1 split. I'll tell you, the IRB say we need to make a rule. They can't even in. There must be, So they're shaking up. They're shaking up the norm.
Yeah.
They're shaking up the norm. They're allowing opposition to think you don't know what to expect from them. And
exactly.
I sometimes,
and hats off to the box
in
for
the
that.
eyes of,
Hats off to them for that.
Yeah, no,
I was going to hats off to the fact that they actually, at certain points they're taking the trend. I mean, if you look at how even our defense and the rush defense, and when Jacques stepped in a couple of years ago with Rassie, you seen guys shooting up line. What maak die man? He's uit lyn uit. And at the end of the day, it came together in the team that started off kicking. And if you look at his tenure as 6 years in Rassie and Jacques, you would almost see them. They had to go through the phase of the up and under chase to understand that game, to know that game, to become good as a defensive team, then to kind of broaden out with a Mani, with a Damon Williamson, to kind of bring that edge where teams are not knowing necessarily. They know we're bringing the power, but we're also bringing that finesse that we haven't seen from a Pak team for a long time. I mean, I think it started last year when we played Italy on the end of year 2. You started seeing manne wat nou redder begin dobbel. And showing their worth. So deurkom 32-29 one. Mani to win the game with a boot. That's kind of also as Mani did doen, guys. Then there should be no discussion about Mani. Die man kan sy werk doen. Ons weet wat hy kan bring. So it's going to be a fantastic game. I think it's going to be awesome, Mani. It's going to be massive. What is your score, Annie? What is your score?
I think the box too. Yeah, there's so much variables. I would have been an easy one. I think now let's just hope that we don't get an injury in the backline. I think the box 23-20. I see Van also going with a 3-point margin. I think 23-20 for me. 32 is a big score if we can do 32. We know the weather is changing in France. We're seeing. And we'll get you out of time to watch the French against our neighboring Namibia. We won't keep you any longer. We know that game starts at 9. But we're seeing some rain, some changing weather. It's going to be heavy underfoot. But two very similar sides. I haven't seen the Irish side at all. I'm not sure whether they're only announcing the side tomorrow. But I predict they're going to go with Bandi Aki at inside center. These are the two most similar teams in world rugby that you will get. Conor Murray, a great box. Bandi Aki, very direct. They're going to kick for territory. They're going to test each other with a high ball. Big pack of forwards, lining, narrow carries, especially from 9, which we've seen now. Faf puts the forwards into space, especially the narrow channels. The Irish does the same. They like to play from the 9s. So they wouldn't mind if it's a bit wet or a bit. Both of the teams brutal forward play. So it's very similar sides, but I don't think that the Irish, we won't see a 7-1 split from the Irish. That should give advantage to Springboks, but we are hoping that our backline players remain injury-free. I'm very delighted to see Damien ahead of Willie, but I'm pretty sure Willie will play a part in the knockout game.
I need these 2 points just to raise on that point, and the Willie conversation. You would think Willie would play in a game like this. If there was a 6-2 split, Willie would be on the bench. Willie brings that edge. If he, as die bal vang, mense. Sorry, as die bal vang, want hy het 3 lelike knockers wat jy gaan dink. Willie kom nou man. Anyway. So Willie brings something from the bench also with Odegaard. He brings another angle to our attack, which is fantastic. So I think he would definitely have played. For me, Damon is head and shoulders above him, just an all-round play. open play. Damien is absolutely dangerous. But with that said, last point. Jy het 3 punte gegaan net, jy het conservative geraak. I think, and I'm going to put it out there. I think we're up for a bit of a surprise by the Boks, and I think we're probably going to win the game by at least 8, I think. Yes, it's big. It's a big score. But they surprised us in certain scenarios. I think there's this quiet undertone happening, which just seems like they're going about their business. They're not bothering nobody. They just need to be who they are. They're putting it out there. This is who I am. I'm going to play this, and you can pitch up on the day or not. Whether it works will be seen. And I'm sure Farrell, the coach of Ireland, is going to definitely have something up their sleeve. But guys, we obviously asked for a few of your, if you guys want to put out some. Obviously, Juan already put out his prediction for the Boks, 32-29. So if you guys want to let us know, drop us a comment and we'll show it on screen. Otherwise, you guys can join our Super Brew pool, which has grown quite significantly over the last while. And if you didn't join just yet, there's the pool code SCARCLUE Têkkel, and the pool code is SCARCLUE. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one. The pool's been growing quite nicely. If you guys have played it, still it's not too late to join. Please, there will be some prize up for grabs, and we're gonna be broadcasting that over the next while. And just with that said, Andy, let's have a look at the latest log. Again, it's tight. It's tight. Ek lê die ver. Melly uit New Zealand. Melly is leading. Guys, well done to Melly. Melly is leading healthily there with 22.3. Kyk op die tyd, die stadium van die kompetisie. Raak hy gaps as hy 22 points is, it gets bigger and bigger. So that's a good lead. Ella of ELA.
Where's Ashman? Ashman net dan. Ja, I dropped the
Ashman, our leader from last week. He's dropped down to 10th position. Yep. Dane has got the yellow cap, so give it up for Dane. He's at
Jy speel die poolie.
Nee, ek het my result gehide nie. I hid it for this because I didn't want to Ek is daar. Nee, dit is om en by. Ek is daar.
Jy gaan nou naske hoop as Damien en Delendi en Willie Leroux daar is hy op 15. Dan kan jy in hulle plekke inkom. En dan wie staan aan die onderkant? Wie die houte lepel? Sal interessant wees om te
sien daar. Kom ons kyk weer die houte lepel. Buxie.
Die Buxie.
Bucks en Buxie. Kyk die Bucks laat weet wanneer hy potjie is asseblief ons wil graag ek moet natuurlik die houte lepel ons sal die vleis bring. So graag 'n potjie kan hou by jou. En dan ja, so lekker bottom of the log. GS12 WP is jy daar. Wat weet vir ons? DI het 'n bietjie opgetel. Laasweek ook ek dink onder op die lag gewees, maar DI is getting, got a few block points going as well. So yeah, it's growing quite nicely. So big up to our leader for this pool, Melly. Well done. Ons kom vir jou Melly. Ons jag jou. Miskien weet Melly iets wat ons hier van weet daar in New Zealand jy nie.
Ja, nee, verseker en na vanaand se game gaan dit definitief weer skuwe wees. Mense weet nooit, daag Namibia op of daag hulle nie op nie. So dit sal interessant wees om te sien. Maar baie dankie. Daar's Melly se fans ein wat sê Melly is gevaarlik. Maar baie dankie vir almal wat gejoin het. Hy sê box by 8, nobody knows. Leprosy. You never know. At least no one is going with Ireland. But remember, we cannot write this Irish team off.
Oh yes, 100%.
We're hoping that next week, this time, we will be smiling all the way with the victory for the Springboks. Very important game. They started well against Scotland. They just, intensified against Romania. Another chance for our Springboks. Patricia saying also box for a win. So, we're all hoping Springboks for a win. And then,
yep.
as the World Cup progresses, we will see some more momentum from our national side. So I'm also backing the Boks to beat Irish on Saturday.
Yep. It's not, like to your point, let's not be naive. This is a good Irish side, and they're not, number one in the world for nothing. Just looking at last night's results, which is the show, is Italy beating Uruguay. En jy het Dene op die kol gekry, né? Jy het Dene 21 points gekry. Ek gestok op by Superboerlog. So well done. Jy het lekker punt. Dit waar jy nog geklim het. Jy dink jy het onder my area gehad. 12.
Hey, maar ek het die margin 100% reg, 21 points.
Yeah, you got 100. Yeah. Got 100.
Kom ons kyk maar hoe vorentoe gaan. My wiele kom baie
vinnig. Yes, and then we're talking about looking forward. Let's just look at this weekend's fixtures. You get France against Namibia, which is tonight, Annie. Playing tonight. There's Argentina, Samoa, which should be an interesting game. Argentina definitely has something to prove. They didn't do well against England at all, and I'm backing them to really show up in this game. Georgia, Portugal. Again, Georgia just being the more experienced team when it comes to World Cup appearances. They should take that over Portugal. England, Chile. England again feeling like they're in a good space. They've had 1 or 2 good wins, and obviously that will just buoy up for that game against Chile, and a moment for them to rack up some points as well. In case it does come down to a point scenario on that log. And then the big one, obviously, on Saturday evening, 9 p.m. is SA versus Ireland, massive game. Scotland, Tonga, also a big game. Scotland also a must-win situation for them. Tonga didn't perform that well against Ireland, and I'm sure they're going to be wanting to pitch up for that game and show the Scots that they are here to feature at least in this World Cup. Then also debatable if it's a big game. If you look at their current form, but Wales and Australia, big game in the sense that these are 2 massive names as well. Traditionally they were two powerhouses. Not necessarily at the moment. There's a lot going on both camps. From whether it's players out of form or selections or whatever it may be. These 2 teams will have to really cut it out, because Fiji het gekom om rugby te speel, nie?
Yeah, Fiji certainly making a case to finish ahead of either of these 2 teams. And surprisingly, they're knocking out either Wales or Australia and marching on to the playoffs. And it's a real reality, especially with the result that Fiji got against Australia. Maar lekker games, but the big one on Saturday evening at 9 o'clock. 9 o'clock South African time gaan die skote behoorlik klap. En dit is in die pool games, one of the bigger ones, if not the biggest pool game. Not taking nothing away from the France-New Zealand game, but this one is going to set the tone for either of these 2 teams to perhaps, come the end of the World Cup, lift the William Webb Ellis Trophy. It's a massive game. 9 o'clock South African time, the Springboks against Ireland.
I'm going to put it out there, Annie, that if the Irish do win this game, they're not going to win the World Cup. I'm putting it out there. They
always find a way. They always find a way to stumble. They will always find a way to stumble. The Irish side has they have the team. We've said it before. They always have the team, but they have the team to go all the way. But I think, like you said, they always find a way to stuff it up. And we are waiting our invitation. We will be somewhere on Saturday.
I was going to say now we've got an invitation for this weekend's game. And we're looking forward. We'll definitely broadcast from there. So look out for us. We will be doing a live feed from that person's house who has invited us. So please, guys, let us know. We want to come and join you guys and have a lekker time.
No, for sure. And we're looking forward to having more invites, especially for the playoff games. En daar net weer Steenwil Golfdag, 7 Oktober. In Pakketberg, de Hoek. Please support the school. They really need the support. Super Spa Pollard daar, die trotse borg van die Steenwil Golfdag for 2023. And we hope to see you all at this golf day. All the monies and all the funds will go towards making sure that the school are able to cover some of their expenses. So we're also looking forward to that. In a nutshell, guys, is our Têkkel talk show. We've gone over our 50 minutes, but we are looking forward to the weekend's rugby. Very We've seen a lot of results, and to those online, thanks for tuning in. Remember to get your picks in for your Super Brew in order to also feature on our show. But Yabi, you've mentioned Springbok to win. You're still sticking with that one?
Yeah, sticking to that, and I am sticking. So when you make your picks, guys, please also subscribe. We want to see you guys. We've got a lot of content we're going to be putting out over the next couple of weeks, and yeah, also, so you like I seen it last week. I need so 114. 114. We are not. We are just to hear what you guys have to say. We are a platform for you guys. We don't. Ons ken is a rugby nie. Ons is maar net supporters soos julle, and we just want to create a platform. So if you guys will have anything to say, join us. Let us know your thoughts. Drop us a line on Facebook. As the season goes on, we will have 1 or 2 guests online as well that'll be joining us. I think that was obviously one of our big features in previous seasons, but with this being the World Cup and also leading into the Cricket World Cup, a lot to be said as well there. But yeah, please let us know and subscribe, and yeah, check out what we have to say.
No, for sure. Têkkel chat op YouTube, op Facebook, op Twitter. Derek, until next week Thursday, I think it was a good chat, and I think a lot of people would probably want us to smile come next week Thursday. I believe it's going to be the case. Back the box all the way, and hopefully this time we will go all the way to become back-to-back champions. Until next week Thursday, guys, thanks for joining us. Be stay safe. See you guys on Saturday. Têkkel chat next week Thursday. Cheers.